of her visitor. "Why did you give her those?" I said, and taking out an 8-anna bit, I handed it to him. The man accepted the money without demur and slipped it into his pocket. Alas, on my return an hour later, I found the unfortunate coin had made twice its own worth of trouble, for the Kabuliwallah had given it to Minnie, and her mother, catching sight of the bright round object, had pounced on the child with, "Where did you get that 8-anna bit?" "The Kabuliwallah gave it to me," said Minnie cheerfully. "The Kabuliwallah gave it to you?" cried her mother, much shocked. "Oh, Minnie, how could you take it from him?" I, entering at the moment, saved her from impending disaster and proceeded to make my own inquiries. It was not the first or second time I found that the two had met. The Kabuliwallah had overcome the child's first terror by a judicious bribery of nuts and almonds, and the two were now great friends. They had many quaint jokes, which afforded them much amusement. Seated in front of him, looking down on his gigantic frame in all her tiny dignity, Minnie would ripple her face with laughter and begin, "Oh, Kabuliwallah, Kabuliwallah, what have you got in your bag?" And he would reply, in the nasal accents of the mountaineer, "An elephant." Not much cause for merriment, perhaps, but how they both enjoyed the fun. And for me, this child's talk with a grown-up man had always in it something strangely fascinating. Then the Kabuliwallah, not to be behindhand, would take his turn. "Well, little one, and when are you going to the father-in-law's house?" Now, most small Bengali maidens have heard long ago about the father-in-law's house, but we, being a little newfangled, had kept these things from our child, and Minnie at this question must have been a trifle bewildered. But she would not show it, and with ready tact replied, "Are you going there?" Amongst men of the Kabuliwallah's class, however, it is well known that the words father-in-law's house have a double meaning. It is a euphemism for jail, the place where we are well cared for, at no expense to ourselves. In this sense would the sturdy peddler take my daughter's question. "Ah," he would say, shaking his fist at an invisible policeman, "I will thrash my father-in-law." Hearing this, and picturing the poor discomfited relative, Minnie would go off into peals of laughter, in which her formidable friend would join. These were autumn mornings, the very time of year when kings of old went forth to conquest, and I, never stirring from my little corner in Calcutta, would let my mind wander over the whole world. At the very name of another country, my heart would go out to it, and at the sight of a foreigner in the streets, I would fall to weaving a network of dreams, the mountains, the glens, and the forests of his distant home, with his cottage in its setting, and the free and independent life of faraway wilds. Perhaps the scenes of travel conjure themselves up before me and pass and repass in my imagination all the more vividly, because I lead such a vegetable existence that a call to travel would fall upon me like a thunderbolt. In the presence of this Kabuliwallah, I was immediately transported to the foot of arid mountain peaks, with narrow little defiles twisting in and out amongst their towering heights. I could see the string of camels bearing the merchandise, and the company of turbaned merchants, some carrying their queer old firearms, and some their spears, journeying downwards towards the plains. I could see... But at some such point, Minnie's mother would intervene, imploring me to beware of that man. Minnie's mother is unfortunately a very timid lady. Whenever she hears a noise in the street or sees people coming towards the house, she always jumps to the conclusion that they are either thieves or drunkards or snakes or tigers or malaria or cockroaches or caterpillars. Even after all these years of experience, she is not able to overcome her terror. So she was full of doubts about the Kabuliwallah and used to beg me to keep a watchful eye on him. I tried to laugh her fear gently away, but then she would turn round on me seriously and ask me solemn questions. Were children never kidnapped? Was it then not true that there was slavery in Kabul? Was it so very absurd that this big man should be able to carry off a tiny child? I urged that, though not impossible, it was highly improbable.